Welcome back to the Sad Boy Cinema Club podcast. My name is Austin. His name is AJ. Join us as we're trying to find purpose and hope in America's true pastime, watching some good old-fashioned movies. You've seen the title, you've seen the thumbnail. Today, we were reviewing Shapeshifter, or what I call Animorphs the Movie, released in 1999, directed by Felipe Browning, written by Louis Deloach, starring Paul Alexander Nolan, Bill McDonald, and Emmanuel Vauger, and the cinematography is by Gabriel Kosuth. And in case you are new to this channel, in case you may be stumbling across this video on your feed, on this series, AJ and I take turns picking the movie. This was AJ's movie. And if you have any inkling of an idea, if you're curious even a little bit as to how good of a movie this could possibly be, it doesn't even have a real Wikipedia page. So if that doesn't tell you how good this movie is, I don't know what will. And because we constantly go back and forth picking movies, I never felt the need to ask this question until right now. I think I'm going to start incorporating it to all of our movie reviews. AJ, why did you make me watch this movie? Why did you pick Shapeshifter for this week?
You should know this from being a coworker and a friend. I love chaos and I love just anarchy. And to me, this movie is the embodiment of that. There's no rhyme or reason to why I picked it. I don't even remember how I stumbled upon it. It was either through somebody's X account or some TikTok. I'm not really sure, but I'm a fan of Tubi, and I'm a fan of hashtag Tubi Treasures on Tuesdays. So this is definitely the crown and my jewel of Tubi Tuesday treasures. So I won't stand for the slander of shapeshifters.
Now, if you look at either of our letterbox, you can tell that we have very different tastes as far as movies goes. AJ has forced me to watch the 1989, 93 Super Mario Brothers movie. I forget which year that came out. He has forced me to watch The Pest, and he has forced me to watch Slacks, the movie about the killer pants. So we're going to add this to the Mount Rushmore of pretty bad movies you've made me watch. So without further ado, since this was your movie, I'm going to let you take the reins here. And why don't you just start us off with the plot?
So before I get into the plot, I think it is hilarious to point out that the director and the writer of this movie didn't do anything else after this movie. Felipe Browning, he's mainly known for writing 5 episodes of 5 different police procedural shows: Law and Order, Dragnet, Robbery Homicide Division, and now he's the VP of monetization of Snapchat. And Louis Deloach never did it again. So I don't know if this film was just like an embarrassment that he was just like, okay, I can never do this again, or if it was like a humiliation ritual. Maybe he's like some secret member of like the Skull and Bones of shitty movies. I'm not sure. But yeah, this movie is a Canadian and Romanian film. It was directed to VHS. I almost said direct to DVD, but I don't think DVDs were out then. But yeah, so this is a direct to your house. You didn't even have to go watch it in the theaters, and that's really a shame. I think this movie on the big screen, phenomenal, phenomenal. But gonna get right into it because I know that you are absolutely dying to talk about Shapeshifter. Again, I'm gonna
I'm
break it down
dying to
into
say
three
something
acts.
about it.
So Act One, there's it starts out. I don't ever think it says a year, but it shows a family of gypsies in the forest of Romania, and there's like a meteorite. This kid finds it and he takes it. Fast forward, that's when we meet the Browns. It's a spy family working for the CIA. Mom, dad, and one son, Alex. They work for the CIA. They're on an airplane when we meet them the first time, heading back to their new home, where they tell Alex they're no longer in the CIA. They are now just regular old USA citizens. They're moving and they're going to begin their new life in New York. That life does not get up to a great start for them. The first night in their house, we see the parents go to bed and Alex goes off with the suitcase into the attic. And the house is broken into. His parents are kidnapped or adult napped. I think that should be the better word. If you're over the age of 18, there needs to be a different word than kidnapping. And then the burglars slash kidnappers torch the house. Alex, though, just showing that he is just the end all be all of just badasses. So he saves the house from burning down, puts out the fire, and he starts to just very shittily work on his new life as a spy agent, trying to track down his family.
So a couple of things I noticed immediately on this movie. First, they keep framing it as if they're ex-CIA. There is no such thing as ex-CIA. You're just not currently working CIA. You're always part of the intelligence agency, and if you spill some secrets, they will get you. That's like the whole bit. That's the entire thing that the CIA is actually known for. So ex-CIA, ridiculous. Also, we have pretty poor lighting in movies that are made now. This, especially in the beginning, this movie's lighting was atrocious, especially in the plane, when you would think there would be some lighting. There would be good lighting in the cabin at one point, but there wasn't. And then, distractingly so, there was a lot of ADR, like extra voiceover work in this movie, and it was really heavy on the dad. I could very much tell that he said something and it didn't mesh up, or like the boom operator didn't get it quite right, or like maybe they just didn't like the guy's accent. But the voice that we're hearing is either not the person that we're seeing, or it is done months after the fact, and I could not get past it. Every time I saw the dad talk, I went, yep, that's ADR. Can't get past it.
They could not have picked worse actors to play, your quote unquote prototypical American mom and dad. To be fair, though, these are Canadian TV actors, mostly. I think when I looked through the Wikipedia page or the IMDb page for most of these characters, or most of these actors, none of them really did a lot. The biggest star would be Emilia Vaughn, Annika, who we'll meet later. She had a pretty long run on Two and a Half Men as Mia, and then she also was on, I believe she was on, she was on Saw 2 and 4 as Addison. So I don't know if you're big Addison's fans, you might be interested in this. We might get a huge pop from Saw fans. But yeah, to be honest, the actors were not very believable in their roles, obviously. Whether that's the parents, especially the dad, his voice acting and everything, or also too, Alex was just god awful at being a spy. And I get it, he's a teenager. That's all of Act 1. This isn't a long movie by any means.
Too long.
If you watch it on Tubi, because of the commercials, it feels forever long. But yeah, I feel like that's a good description of Act 1. There's not really a whole lot of meat to this movie. It's a lot of just one act, two act, and then the final act. And so now we are in Act 2. Alex has tracked down his parents to Romania. This is after he talked to the CIA and tried to get their assistance, and they were like, no, we can't help you. We'll figure this out. Don't worry about it. So Alex arrives in Romania. He checks into a hostel and immediately goes to a concert with his bunkmates, who were just weird looking guys. Pretty much, I would imagine that is what a hostel guest would look like. Those two. And I think they were trying to be like stoners without being stoners. Because I feel like this movie was before like everybody started embracing like the stoner subculture. They immediately get to this concert. Alex starts like tripping balls and ends up walking away from the venue, leaving his friends. I guess he didn't want to stay and watch Bjork rock out. But he starts walking towards an old abandoned like castle, and he's just following like a butterfly puff of smoke. This is where we meet the great Django. It's Giannis, the old man who lives in the burnout castle, who in hindsight we realize now is the little boy who stole the meteor that just looked, honestly, it looked like if you caught aluminum foil on fire. Like that's what that made me think of when he scooped that up, and then we see it later. Still this what that was making me think of. He's got this really sweet musical instrument called the glass harmonica, and it honestly, the best way to describe it is, in Miss Congeniality, when they get the cups wet and they're rubbing the rims and it makes those sounds. That's how this is, but it is all lit on its side, like one big spindle. So it's kind of cool, but apparently it's a cool musical instrument that only select people can hear, and Alex can hear it. And then also there's like a throwaway that Ben Franklin played this at one point. And honestly, I don't know why that was thrown in there. Maybe they were like, oh yeah, we're gonna get the Americans. They're gonna love this because they're, one of their heroes was an original glass harmonica player. So you go through like the training montage that's, a la like Yoda and Luke, of just Alex trying to figure out his skills and trying to figure out how to play the glass harmonica, and Django's telling him all these like historical facts about the harmonica and the people that can hear it and how they can change scales and all this and that. And they're really trying hard to get you to buy into the fact that Alex is a freak and that he is going to be the savior in this movie, all because he can hear this magical glass harmonica played. We get the idea that Alex is the chosen one.
I think the whole premise is kind of asine's probably too strong of a word, but it is very silly because the glass harmonica is not indigenous to, it wasn't created in Romania, so there's no plot reason as to why this particular instrument is supposed to be here and why this is the calling
card. This is a real instrument
for the. Yes.
Huh. I thought this shit was fake.
No, that was very much a real instrument. And I don't mean this as any sort of disrespect to glass harmonica players. I'm sure it's like a very very skill thing that you have to learn how to do, obviously. There's no reason for Alex to learn that instrument in particular. You could have very easily replaced it with, only particular people can hear this frequency like dogs can. Like, it doesn't need to be here. And outside of the cool sounds that it makes and the cool visual effects that accompany it later in the film, I'm not exactly sure why it's actually in the movie at all. The placement of it was weird. And again, you could have picked any other instrument. You could have picked a bard. You could have picked a harp. You could have picked a harpsichord. You could have done anything and it still would have fit. I just don't understand why they picked this here. Why not a glockenspiel? You know what I mean?
Hey, my mind is blown. This is a real instrument. So kudos to Philippe Browning. I thought this shit was just made up, and I was like, hell yeah, that's a cool looking thing. So I guess that's the difference between me and you. I think it would have been cool if he'd have played Hot Cross Buns, broke out the recorder and just
have that be in the training montage as your first song.
Be like, only a select few people can hear this, and then you just pan to like all kinds of schools across America, and it's just little elementary school kids just playing Hot Cross Buns, just getting awoken like sleeper agents.
That's the Romanian version of a recorder. I love that.
But yeah, so like after Alex figures out how to play the glass harmonica and realizes the powers that I don't think he originally believed that he had any powers. I think that he just thought this old man was crazy and that maybe Alex was going crazy. But then for some reason, Django plays it again and he turns into a dog. Alex does. He goes up and sniffs his mom's handkerchief and then bolts out of there. But I thought it was funny too because, this glass harmonica lets you shapeshift into animals and all this and that. Why wasn't there like a dog door or something at this castle? Why wasn't there like an easy way for this dog to get out? Like, because in theory you would think if you're playing the glass harmonica and you are the shapeshifter, you got to be able to get out. So say Alex was alone and turned into that dog, he'd be trapped in that damn castle. He didn't have thumbs to open doors.
We can only assume that the Yoda here also has these powers, and he's been waiting to transfer these powers to somebody else. So this is probably the first interaction that he's had with somebody to be able to transfer the powers. So the whole doggy door thing is probably on the back burner. He's depicted as like 80, 90 years old in the movie. So he's probably just like, okay, well, I had a good run. I had a good life. No one's coming
now. So maybe you're right. Maybe that was a little too harsh on my behalf. Thinking, why the hell didn't this asshole install a doggy door? Alex, as a dog, runs to this. I don't remember what they called it. It was like La Brianka or something like that, and it was just this stronghold by, it was classic '90s bad Russian. or Soviet-esque dictator who wants to nuke the planet. And that's where we meet Petrov and his cyber witch, which was different. I wasn't expecting to get the whole computer hacker thing in this movie at all. I didn't expect that to be added into this. But yeah, Petrov is this dictator who wants to dance in the ashes of the world with his cyber witch. Again, Alex is shit at his job, and he's a dog, and he gets chased by these guards that are guarding this stronghold, and he just turns into a human real quick. And that is where we see Annika again. She also worked at the hostel that Alex was staying at, but she shows up on a moped, which, side note, I would love to have a moped. This movie only cemented that more in my mind. I want a harmonica and a moped. Just living my best life. We only see Alex shapeshift 3 times in this movie. With as much as of a deal as they made about him being able to shapeshift, I thought we would see cool, more transitions. And I get it, maybe the time, and I'm sure at the time this cost a lot of money to have this technology. So maybe that's why we only get 3. But Alex's second morph is into a dove, I think it is, or a pigeon. It's some bird. And he turns into that after getting cornered by the CIA, who tried to double cross him.
And then he does the chicken dance to turn into the bird.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, how else would you turn into a bird?
Flap my wings.
I mean, that's what he was trying to do. Just a little chicken
dance.
Nope.
Arms out like angels in the outfield, not the chicken dance. Anything would have been better than what he did. I was so annoyed when I saw it. I have it as a note. That's how annoyed I was that I wrote it down.
It was something. And I don't know why you would go from dog to bird. I feel like bird would have been better for the first one, and then a dog for the second one, just because of, him being cornered. You would think a dog would be able to get escape better than a bird, I guess. Or maybe that's just my brain. This is when Petrov and his cyber witch, which I don't think she has a name. I think it's just cyber witch. But they become aware of Alex and his powers. There's that cool scene where Petrov has a gun that turns you into dust. And when his henchmen couldn't get Alex for the second time, he turns one of them into dust, and then they put him in a big box with all the other dust people he's created. So I thought that was kind of cool. I really liked that weapon. I thought that was a cool little
one of the
addition.
Only positives in this movie was the vaporizer gun for me. It reminds me a lot of the ray gun from Call of Duty.
We're hurling right along to Act 3 in this movie, the final chapter of the saga of Shapeshifters. Again, Alex is not good at what he does, and he breaks into the fortress with the assistance of a casino working dwarf. I think they were trying to go with the most outlandish things, you think of gypsies and dwarfs, and I'm surprised we didn't get a bearded lady in this, or a dog man. I feel like those were they're very much going for a freak show type underground movement, which, whatever. But Alex is caught immediately upon sneaking in. Another thing that I had caught a problem with, especially when they break in or they get into the catacombs, they have to climb down a ladder to get down into the sewer, but there's no ladder for them to get back out. So I just assumed that the dwarf just stayed in the catacomb after Alex got caught. And he also never paid him. He was supposed to pay him half then and half when he got back. Alex just doesn't pay anything because he also didn't pay at the hostel. He's just a typical freeloading American. And I can't stand that. Just makes us look bad. But yeah, so Alex gets caught immediately by the cyber witch. She shrinks him down, puts him into a glass jar. Thankfully, she didn't turn him into the My Little Pony glass jar. That had taken a different turn for this movie. Django he somehow, I don't know if he realized that Alex was caught or just was like, hey, this is taking a really long time. Alex should have been back by now. Let me play some funky tunes on my glass harmonica. Alex is in this glass jar in front of his parents, and then all of a sudden he grows and he gets his parents free, and Petrov and the witch are trying to be flirty with each other. But Alex gets his parents out of there. They're running. They get captured almost. Again, Alex shapeshifts. He turns into a griffin, which At first, when he started turning into the Griffin, I thought he was turning into a werewolf, and I was like, okay, this is kind of cool. You know, Romania werewolf, this would be awesome. Or maybe I thought also too, I was like, well, maybe he's going to turn into a dragon. No, he turns into a Griffin. And the CGI is terrible because obviously there's no Griffins that they could have just used. But Alex is a Griffin, makes the escape with his parents. They fly above the city. Then he lands, and then we learn that his parents don't recognize him, don't remember who he is, and Alex is crestfallen. And then somehow Annika knows that Alex's parents, they have no memories because they have no souls. Cyber Witch has their soul. So Alex then gets to teleport to hell through like a fire portal, grabs his parents' souls, boogies back, drops his souls in the body. Oh, Alex, I love you. I've missed you. Like, it's just, I felt like this act, more than any part in the movie, was just rushed. They were just like, all right, we got to get this thing done. Like, we got to wrap it up. We got to move to the conclusion of this. We've done seen Alex turn into a dog, a bird, a griffin. He's gone to hell. Like, we need to finish this thing, like, now. And then after, you know, Alex gets his parents' souls back from hell from the witch, you think, oh, the movie's over. Also in this time, I kind of glossed over it. Petrov was trying to buy plutonium from some scientist to make his nukes. And Alex somehow got the drop on him and planted a bomb in the building, was ready to let the scientist who was selling the bomb. He was 100% going to let him die. And I think he might have, because the building exploded, right? So he lets the building explode. He makes off with the uranium. Alex does. Petrov is boned again. We think the good guys have won. The CIA comes. And then all of a sudden you get a red alert in this high-tech security room that, oh my God, all these nuclear missiles are now aimed at Moscow, Paris, and New York. And we can't change it because the computer's been hacked. Oh no, what will we do? Cyber Witch, Alex goes to the internet and fights the Cyber Witch, beats her, saves the day. Geraldus is the CIA handler guy who's a dick pretty much through the whole movie, and tells Alec, all right, well, you know, you got your parents back. We're done here. And Alex was like, no, I want a helicopter back to New York, which you couldn't fly to Romania to New York on one helicopter. Like that. I mean, well, also too, Alex can turn into a griffin. So, I mean, I guess he could turn into an airplane or something. Because it didn't say he had to be an animal. It just said shapeshifter. But he's like, we have to take Annika. Because we also found out that Annika's family got turned into dust too, because they opposed Petrov and his rule. So fast forward a little bit, we get back to America. Alex and Annika, who I felt like had a connection that would have been a little weird to be brother and sister, because now they're living as brother and sister, but I felt like they were kind of like there was a lot of sexual tension. I mean, this is a kid's movie, so they can't, like, obviously there's not like palpable sexual tension, but I think you could feel it watching it as an adult.
So I'm gonna go on a wrap here for a second, and it's just gonna be like a straight up monologue about all the things in the last third of this movie that pissed me off. So you talk about the sexual tension that these two had. He is very much interested in Annika. Annika is very much interested in him. We see it at the hostel. We see it after he turns into a dog that picks her up on her moped. We see it throughout the movie. And then all of a sudden, when he's making this bargain, he goes, well, you can live with us in America. We're your family now.
As weird. My sister.
Pick something, pick an idea, execute on it, and just live with the results. Don't be like, oh yeah, these two, they might fall in love, but now they're brother and sister. So like, don't do that. And then the pacing of this movie really pissed me off, because this is like a 90-minute runtime. It takes 30 minutes for us to see him transform the first time. And I go, okay, I hate this movie, but at least the pacing's pretty good. We solve the souls issue where his parents doesn't have soul and he has to go to literal hell to grab them in 30 seconds. I timed it. And then we solve the whole Cuban Missile Crisis in 5 minutes, and then it's the end of the movie. You're arguably the two biggest conflicting points, the two biggest talking points in this movie are solved within the time that it takes for you to go down the road to the Dollar General or to McDonald's or whatever the case is. Like, it's that fast. So the other hour and 23 minutes really like inconsequential, doesn't mean anything at all. And also, I don't think that you brought it up because it really didn't matter. Yoda dies. He passes on to the next life here. And Alex is devastated about this fact. And I just don't understand why. You just
Yeah,
met
he
the
didn't know him.
guy.
Yeah.
You had a jam session with him in your garage one time. I don't think that constitutes fucking crying about it. And it would be one thing if nothing else happened in this movie, and we just see him as a very sensitive soul and he's very in touch with his feelings. Like, those are admirable traits that you want to have in your protagonist. But he literally knows that his parents have been shot and kidnapped, didn't break a tear, didn't shed one tear, wasn't upset. He goes, well, I have to get to work. I have to get my parents back. Which, again, I also think you can spin that as being an admirable trait. You're 16, you're 17 years old. Have your adolescent protagonist be a little self aware that he's a bit over his skis and shed a tear for his parents that he may never see again. It is that easy of a story beat, and it makes everything else in this movie seem more dire than what you've made it out to be in the last hour and a half. It's so simple. And again, I've said it a couple times throughout a couple of these videos. I've never made a movie. I don't know how hard it is to make a movie. I've done a lot of writing though, and it's very easy to make characters likable and seem human in some aspect, and they did not do that in this movie.
No, there's not one human in this movie. Honestly, I feel like they did more character development with the Cyber Witch and Petrov, which are your bad guys, and that's cool, whatever. But like, I felt more. I feel like it would have been a better movie had they focused on just them, like, and have Alex be the subplot of this movie. There's a shapeshifter that you got to do battle with, whatever. I think that would have been a more riveting movie, and that's coming from a fan of this movie that I say that. So only constructive criticism here. Another thing I didn't talk about, they when the dwarf kills Petrov because he hit him with a baseball bat in the back, like that's a Scooby Doo ass death right there. Like, I get it. Like, this is a kids movie. I think this is PG or maybe PG-13. But come on, like, we saw a guy just get blown up, or alluded to the fact that he got blown up. We've seen a guy get vaporized, and you're gonna tell me this guy gets killed by a baseball bat? Like, some big baddie he is.
I mean, he was
Um,
100 years old, so maybe like that's just a gust of wind waiting to happen, you know?
yeah. So I'm wondering now. So because Alex took the glass harmonica, um, Django died. Django had lived for 360 years. So does that mean Alex is now going to live for 360 years as the new glass harmonica keeper?
If there's a God, we'll never get a sequel to find out.
You better hope I never win the lottery because I will make this sequel tomorrow. Honestly, I feel like that's a good analysis of this movie without, because I feel like if you really did a deep dive into it, we could have talked about this movie from start to finish and made maybe a 35-minute podcast. Like, and that's if we're lucky, and that's if digging into everything about it. There's not a lot of meat on these bones.
I was hoping that it was going to be better than what it actually turned out to be, because we're Tubi fans here. There are some bangers on Tubi. There's also whatever the opposite of a banger is on Tubi. And again, I've never made a movie. I understand how hard it could possibly be. So I try to go into every movie I watch with a fresh mentality of people worked very hard on this film. There were hundreds of people who worked on it, from production to lighting to, the sound, whatever the case is. I try so hard to keep that in mind when watching the movie and end up giving a review on it. It was so difficult because there were so many aspects of this movie that were bad. So my baseline going into it was, this doesn't seem like it was great. I knew that it was direct to VHS. I knew that because it didn't have its own Wikipedia page, it was going to probably be pretty bad. But I expected like a fine watch. Like I would get to the end of it and I go, I mean, it was fine. And I didn't even get that. So that was disappointing.
I was expecting some sort of Animorphs type, and I think this. So I looked it up. This actually came out after Animorphs, so they kind of stole the idea. I thought maybe this came out first, and I was like, okay, well, that's where Animorphs got the idea. So you can at least seek solace in that Animorphs stole it from this. But this movie just 100% ripped it off from Animorphs. What did you rate it on Letterboxd?
The lowest possible score I could have given it, half a star.
Wow, that's sad. This film ended two careers in Hollywood. They
I
never
would make
worked
an
again.
argument that because of this movie, they should have never began. So I've said it before. I forget which movie I actually gave the 1-star review to, but if it has one redeeming quality, I will give it a 1-star just again because I know how difficult it could possibly be to make something like this. Nothing. I don't have anything positive to say about this movie. Bupkis. Zilch.
That's a hater.
Nada.
That's a hater watch right there. I gave it a 5 stars, and I
Shocker.
will tell you why. I will tell you why. This movie has it all: riveting story, action, drama, espionage, and like I said, God willing, if I win the lottery, there will be a sequel.
I've said before in previous episodes that I can't compare a comedy to an action or a sci-fi to a western or anything like that. I have to compare things within their own genre. So this would have to be some sort of like fantasy epic and at some point like a very sci-fi, especially because of the whole hacking and jumping into the internet thing. There are better movies that executed this exact same plot better than this movie did. Animorphs as a series is better than this movie, and I didn't think that Animorphs was great either. So I just can't give it anything more than that half star. I'm sorry.
What would you do differently?
When we watch these bad movies, my default answer is I would just not make the movie, but I can't keep giving that for each movie that we watch. The thing that I would actually do differently is just tweak Alex's character a little bit. I don't know how familiar you are with the Spy Kids movies, but they have a very similar plot, especially in the first one where their parents get kidnapped. Junie and Carmen are over their skis. They don't know how to be spies. So for Alex to act like just because like he thinks through osmosis, through observing, he can just figure out how to be a spy, let alone figure out how to be a shapeshifter and a griffin and like all these other things. He just thinks that he can be a spy because his parents do it. And that's just not how you're supposed to do it. If I saw him A, be sad that his parents got kidnapped and potentially died, and then B, have this moment of, oh my God, I I have no idea how to possibly get them back. This is the end. What do I do? And then he gets contacted by the CIA director and go, hey, we got an alert. Are your parents there? And then he like walks him through this whole thing and from the ground up teaches him how to be a spy, at least in the interim, so he can help the CIA get his parents back. That's literally the one thing that I would do. If it was more like Spy Kids, I think it would have been a better movie.
I think that's a fair comparison of the whole Spy Kids thing. Um, I agree. I think Alex's character could have been better developed, and whether it was more emotional about his parents or like, and also too like when he shapeshifted. First off, you just stumbled into this castle and found this guy in a cloak, playing a glass harmonica that only you can hear, and it turns you into an animal, and you aren't like, holy shit, what just happened to me? Like there was no like, and again, I get it, he was a kid actor, but still, I feel like he could have been better directed, and maybe they didn't have that direction, and the director wasn't that talented. Obviously, he didn't do much more in Hollywood. I guess he's better at making money since Snapchat makes money, but whatever. For me, I think personally that it is mine comes down to the technology constraints. Obviously, the CGI has aged horribly, so I would update that. I think that would make it much more enjoyable if it was done with modern cameras and CGI. I think it would have been. This movie's never going to win an Oscar. This movie is going to win a Razzie for sure, but I think if you updated it and shot it with 4K cameras and you just Bay the shit out of it and just have explosions and like just tough guy stuff, I think you could save this movie. Also, too, I'm kind of pissed that we didn't get a flashback since they talked about Ben Franklin playing the glass harmonica. I would have loved to seen um, Ben Franklin getting down on the glass harmonica and just seeing what his freaky ass would have turned into.
After the whole Griffin thing, I think their budget was pretty blown, so they probably couldn't do a throwaway cutaway gag with Ben Franklin playing a glass harmonica.
I'm saying though, man, just imagine like that would have lived on for decades as just a meme reaction, just Ben Franklin, because I mean he was a freaky man. What'd you love about it? I'm sure this is going to be a really thoughtful answer.
Yeah, if I had to pick one thing from the movie I actually really did enjoy, it's when we see Alex in the hostel and he's hanging out with his hostel mates, and the one guy, I forget what the context is now, but Alex is like, "You're not going to kill me, are you?" or something along the lines of that. And the one guy goes, "Do I look like a guy who would do such a thing?" And I just thought that made me laugh. That was the one time I laughed in this movie.
I loved the fact that this was an original movie idea. I get it. I get they stole it from Animorphs, but I don't remember another movie that I've seen like this. And I'm sure there are movies like this, especially since this came out in 1999. I'm sure there's been some sort of movie along these lines. But I like the original storyline, the campiness of it all. It was a film that didn't take itself too seriously. And I think, whether that was from inexperience or budget constraints or whatever the case may be, I feel like this film knew what it was going to be. It was going to be one of those movies that your mom picks up from a video store on a Friday night. You get a pizza, your friends come over, you watch this movie, and then you go to bed. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like this is one of those childhood movies your parents could pop in and let you enjoy it. What didn't you love? I'm sure you've got a huge Chris Jericho-esque list.
Yeah, it's a list of 1,004 things I definitely didn't like. If I had to narrow it down to one, though, it would for sure be the pacing. Because again, I think, and maybe this is a hot take, I think that most movies, like 98% of movies, their runtime needs to be 90 minutes. You can tell a very effective story in 3 acts, 30 minutes apiece. And the first 30 minutes were fine because at the end of the 30-minute mark, at the end of the first act, we get to see him take this, this next biological change in him and become the shapeshifter. So then we could have had a lot of cool things. But then again, the two biggest things, one, your soul, like your afterlife being in damnation, solved in less than a minute. And then the whole nuclear missile crisis solved in less than 5 minutes. And it seemed as if they got the bill like 75% of the way through the movie of how much this is going to cost, because at that point the Griffin has already been like rendered and stuff. It felt like they were handed the bill and they go, "Oh fuck, we don't have any more money to do anything else. We have to wrap this up real quick." And then at that, I mean, I was never really into this movie, but at that point I was super out of it.
Yeah, the pacing on this movie was just off. And you're right. I think a good sweet spot is definitely the 90 minutes, 30-minute a piece act. And the first act, I feel like you said, not trying to sound like a broken record, but the first act had good pacing. It was fine. It wasn't like, it wasn't reinventing the wheel or anything like that. But yeah, I think I agree with you. I think they got towards the end, and I feel like that's something that happens with a lot of movies. I feel like maybe they'll ace the first half of the movie, and then the last one they're just like, oh shit, we got to wrap this up. And so like that's a complaint for a lot of different movies from a lot of different very skilled directors. So I mean I think that's a fair assumption. For me, the thing I didn't love was Alex. He was a shitty spy. And if that's what this whole movie is about him being this spy because his parents are a spy, and now he's got this new wrinkle of he can be, animals that, transform into, these different animals to help him solve this, where his parents are, and free them. I feel like he should have been better at that. Like, he failed at everything he tried. Like, it for me, that was just very, and again, I feel like I'm nitpicking here because, again, this is a kid's movie. This wasn't, it wasn't like, holy shit, that's Jason Bourne. But like, you know what I mean? There's a huge gap between what we got with Alex and like your top of the line spy movie. Like you could find some middle ground there, and I think this would have been a far better movie too. I'm sure I know this answer, but would you watch it again?
Not on my own free will. I wouldn't.
So that's kind of me. I mean, I'm not counting down the days to rewatch it by any means. I do have a 9-year-old, so if Callie, wants to watch it, I'd watch it again with her. I think that's it's a fine movie to watch with a kid. I think this is a movie that you could safely put on for your kids, like parents in the '90s did. Just a quick movie, It's very much along the lines of like Air Bud or Primate, MVP, like just safe movies that you could watch with your kid and not worry about what they're being exposed to.
I was more upset about when I watched the movie because, again, follow us on Letterboxd. I'll plug all of our socials in a minute. Here are the movies that I watched prior to that. So I watched Bloodsport, which we talked about off pod, which I thought was awful. But then I watched John Q, incredible film, 5 out of 5 stars for me. Jeepers Creepers, which is a lot better than what I remember from being a child. The Challengers movie with Zendaya, I thought was pretty good. The Fantastic Mr. Fox, oh my God, devastated me. Incredible. And then after The Fantastic Mr. Fox, I watched Manchester by the Sea. Again, oh my God, devastated me. And then Tommy Boy to top it off because I had never seen Tommy Boy before that. And then Shapeshifter. So I had this pretty good run of really solid movies, or even I would say that a couple of these were like actually life changing, especially a couple scenes in The Fantastic Mr. Fox. And then I see Shapeshifter. I'm like, Jesus, dude. And on top of that, I told you about it. This was my 100th movie of the year. I didn't realize it prior to me pressing play, but I went to log it and I go, dude, I wasted my 100th movie on that. Insane.
You look at it as a wasted movie at that 100. It's a memorable movie at 100. You'll definitely be like, oh shit, I watched this dumbass movie AJ picked. So
I remember wasting 90 minutes of my time. I sure do.
I'll never get that back. That's a good Kanawha County ambulance movie right there. That's what that is.
Yeah, it is.
I think if you loved this movie, I'm gonna give you 2 recommendations, and you can tell me if you've seen them or not. I don't know if you have or not. The one is a series. It's called Manimal, and it's about a wealthy doctor and it's a TV series. It's a wealthy doctor who helps police solve crimes by turning into a hawk, a panther, or a snake. Does that move the needle any for you?
It's not ringing any bells either.
No, it's from 1983. I'd never heard of it either. To me,
I don't think
it
I'm
could
exactly
be cool.
moved.
Okay, so that's a pass for you. All right. Option 2. This is all about options. You got to keep your options open. Prehysteria. Are you familiar with it?
I am not.
Okay, it's a 1993 movie. It was made by Moonbeam. It's a Moonbeam classic. It's about a teenager who discovers a set of rare miniature living dinosaurs.
I would be more interested in that than what I just watched, probably. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I remember when I saw the cover art for Prehysteria, I was like, oh shit, I've seen this. Couldn't tell you. Like it's one of those movies that I know I've seen, but it's kind of like a fever dream. Like, okay, was this a real thing that happened? But yeah, no, I remember I have seen it, but I don't remember the movie at all. But now that we have watched Shapeshifter and really loved it, really dug into it, what are we watching next?
Well, I am actually pleased to inform you and everybody that could possibly be watching that next week we are going to be watching the 1995 Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie. You can find it on YouTube. I don't think it has any ads on it. If it doesn't, you're welcome. I think that this is absolute cinema. I definitely think it's going to be better than what we just watched, and I'm really excited for everybody to join us next week. You can follow us at all of our socials, Sad Boy Cinema, on TikTok, Twitter, and here on YouTube, obviously. Follow us at our individual Letterboxd accounts. I'm going to put it above our head. And if you don't have anything else, I'll send us out of here. That's going to do it for me. That's going to do it for AJ. Be kind. Tell somebody you love them. See you in the next one.